We made this video about a year ago and things have changed significantly, which we never thought would happen. You're out of here. Wherever we want, whenever we want. It's hard at times.
You will miss bathrooms.
We don't have a choice. Absolutely irreplaceable. We're getting used to it. Jolting, and that's just something that's part of our lifestyle.
Is it worth it then for you to live on the boat?
Hello, welcome back to another video. Today is going to be a Coffee on Blue Moon episode, so more of a sit down and chat style video. We're going to be answering your questions about how much it costs to live on the sailboat and how that compares to regular housing in the city that we live in. We made this video about a year ago and things have changed significantly, which we never thought would happen. So Jonas has crunched the numbers once again and we're going to compare our costs of boat life compared to sort of land life in a house. We do want to make it clear that we did not move aboard to save money, and this decision was not financially motivated. We moved aboard in 2020 because, as with so many other people's lives, COVID flipped our lives upside down, changed and canceled the majority of our plans, and we decided it was time to do something that we've always talked about, which was to live aboard a sailboat. So yeah, this wasn't a spur of the moment decision to save some money. We talked about it a long time and we just, all of a sudden these opportunities arose and we decided to take them.
The last sort of piece of background we wanted to give on that is that we got very lucky when we first moved aboard the boat. Nowadays, in the summer of 2022, things in sort of the boating world, the boat economy, have changed a lot. The two big pieces are supply. There's a very limited supply of boats like this now. During the pandemic, the price of boats went up a lot, and the other thing is the availability of moorage. So there's also a very limited supply of mooring areas. We were on a wait list to get into our moorage here, and we just got quite lucky that some spots opened up. We snuck into the boating market sort of during the crash of the pandemic. The market factors now that sort of determine the price of sailboats and other types of boats and the price of moorage have changed a lot in the past couple of years.
Yeah, and we obviously weren't thinking about this when we decided to move aboard, but now that we're looking back at it 2 years later, we lucked out a lot. Yeah, it was just a piece of good luck that the sale of this boat happened when it did. Okay, let's get into some numbers. So, housing, if for some reason you haven't heard, housing is very expensive. Housing prices are going up all across our country, especially where we live in the southern coast of British Columbia. There's a huge lack of housing. Supply of new housing or new constructions is not keeping up with demand, and prices are extremely high compared to median incomes and stuff like that. So the first thing I want to talk about is just the cost of regular housing where we live. I pulled some quick numbers. These are rough estimates. Obviously these numbers change a lot. These are average numbers as of the spring of 2022. These numbers are for the Vancouver, Victoria, and sort of southern coast regions, including the Lower Mainland. If you're not from Canada or British Columbia, we're sort of on the southern tip of the country. We have lots of coastal waters here. As of the spring of 2022, the average cost for a one-bedroom apartment, or like a one-bedroom place to live, either a suite or an apartment, is $1,887 per month. So $1,900. Wow.
That's not including utilities or insurance. So the median cost for a one-bedroom apartment where we live is just over $2,000 a month.
That's so crazy.
And that's, yeah, all of these figures will be in Canadian dollars. Obviously the cost of individual rooms would be lower. The reason we're using a one-bedroom as comparison is because the sailboat is our own private space, so we wanted to compare it to something that would also be a private space. We've lived in houses that have several bedrooms before, in sort of like student housing or student houses, and while you can save some money doing that, it is a lot different than living on your own. We wanted to use a one-bedroom apartment or like a studio apartment as sort of a fair comparison. The price difference between studios and one-bedrooms is not very much. There's also very few studio apartments around. Generally, the entry point for the housing market for people our age is a one-bedroom apartment. If for some reason you wanted to compare this to two bedrooms in this area, the average cost would be over $2,500 a month.
Which is, wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So if for some reason we wanted to have a bedroom and like another room as a spare room or an office or something, it would cost $2,500 a month.
Wow.
And these are averages. To be honest, most of the places listed in our area, which is downtown, are way higher than this. Yeah, you can look for yourself on the internet. The availability of housing right now in BC is a major problem, and the prices are directly connected to that lack of supply.
Before we get into the breakdown of our costs while living on the sailboat, I really quickly want to mention the sponsor of today's video, which is Skillshare. We've worked with Skillshare for a while now, but if you don't know, Skillshare is an online learning community filled with thousands of classes for anyone who loves learning and wants to explore their creativity and learn new skills. Skillshare is also ad-free, and new premium classes are released every single week, so there's always something new to explore. Last month, if you remember, I took a watercolor course, so I wanted to kind of continue on that creativity path. I wanted to keep it fun and light, so I decided to take Always Drawing: How to Start and Keep a Daily Sketchbook by Mike Lowry. We're gearing up to see some incredible places this summer, and although we capture a lot of it through film and photography, I really like the idea of capturing little snapshots in a sketchbook as sort of my own interpretation of what we're seeing. Now, there's way more on Skillshare than just sort of like the drawing and watercolor side of things. There's business classes, there are entrepreneur classes, there's gardening classes. There's something for everyone on there, and I definitely recommend checking it out. Luckily, Skillshare is offering the first 1,000 of our viewers a 1-month free trial if they use the link in our description box below. So you can try Skillshare for free and see if you like it. Now let's get back to the video and chat about what our monthly costs are while living on a sailboat. So now we'll break down our monthly costs while living on a 30-foot sailboat at a marina. Our total monthly cost for the two of us is $650 a month. And this isn't including groceries or anything. This is including housing and sort of like our style of utilities. So the basic breakdown is we pay $550 a month for moorage. That includes access to fresh water, that includes access to facilities, weekly pump outs and electricity, and just a general liveaboard fee. So of that $550, we pay, I think it's like $117 in liveaboard fees just to be able to actually live on this boat, and around $100 monthly in electricity. We have a 30 amp shore power hookup, and that's what runs our whole AC system on the boat. The rest of that is just boat moorage that anyone would pay for having their boat here. On top of that $550 for moorage, we each pay about $40 per month in gym memberships, and that includes our showers. So we each shower at the gym, so we don't have to pay for showers at the facilities, because the facilities that we have access to, it's $250 for 5-minute shower, which really adds up. So we've eliminated that by just getting a gym pass, and so we can work out and shower at the same time. And we have unlimited hot water, which is awesome. And then our last monthly cost is laundry. So we spend about $20 a month on laundry. It's $3 for a wash and $3 for a dry. And we do laundry once every 1 to 2 weeks.
Yeah, probably 3 times a month or so.
About 3 times a month. And that works out really well for us. Laundry is pretty expensive here, but $20 a month isn't too bad. So the total of that is $650 a month for the two of us, which is like $325 a month each. So considering the prices that Jonas was talking about earlier, very affordable.
If you watched our video that we released on this a year ago, you'll notice our expenses number has gone down slightly. That's because we found a much more affordable gym. We were paying way too much for our gym last year.
Yes, and we've just really like gotten a good routine down.
Another note to consider here is the bulk of our moorage cost is dependent on the size of our boat. So you pay a certain dollar rate per foot per month, and we have a fairly small vessel. It's 30 feet. If you had a much larger vessel, you would pay proportionally more money, and the larger your vessel, the more you pay per foot, because you're taking up space, you're using more power and everything like that. So if you're on an 80-foot boat, these numbers are not gonna match up, but for smaller vessels it should be pretty similar.
Another cost that we should mention is maintenance costs. I think there are maintenance costs with most areas of living. If you own a house, you have maintenance. If you own a vehicle, you have maintenance. But boat maintenance can become quite expensive, and it also fluctuates. So some months we spend $0 on boat maintenance. some months we spend hundreds of dollars on boat maintenance. For example, this last month or two, we've been spending a lot more getting the boat ready to go out sailing and to live off-grid. So that's something that we need to be prepared for, and they can be sporadic as well. We've been fairly lucky. We haven't had any like huge costs, but it could happen, and we need to be prepared for that, because especially on a boat, you can't just let a problem sit, because it'll either get way worse or it's a safety issue, or yeah, you have to get it done now, and that is a time constraint and a cost, like a physical money cost thing.
Comparing those two numbers, with the average cost of housing being $2,000 a month and what we're paying to live on the sailboat of $650 a month, we're saving approximately $1,350 Canadian every month.
Wow, I hadn't done that math. That's not bad. I'll take that out.
I hadn't worked out those numbers yet. So one thing to keep in mind with that comparison, we wouldn't pay $2,000 a month. We wouldn't, and we probably couldn't. I mean, we might be able to, but it would be a real stretch given our income. We also think it's for people our age, early in the workforce, I think generally speaking it's a stretch. So if we weren't living on a sailboat, we probably would not be living in this city. Housing prices in this area on average have gone up about 30% in the last 2 years. Most units it's actually a lot higher, sometimes closer to 40 or 50%. Especially any unit that's large enough to have families in them, or like multiple people working. The prices have dramatically increased since the pandemic. Living on the sailboat is a bit of a financial refuge for us. It gives us the ability to stay in this city without completely breaking the bank. So they say, we can say that we're saving that money on housing, but the reality is that we wouldn't pay that. If we weren't lucky enough to have our mortgage here and have the boat, we would have to leave this city and go live somewhere else. We wouldn't be willing to pay housing costs that were that high just to have a one-bedroom apartment.
Yeah. The other huge savings that we get by living on the boat is that in the summer we go off-grid, and so we have completely free moorage because we're on anchor or we're on a mooring ball. Every once in a while, like if we stay at a paid place, we might pay like $14, $20 a night, but we rarely do that. And so that increases our savings even more, because now our $650 a month is only spread out over like 7 or 8 months.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can do the math on that, but it makes our monthly prices spread out over the year much less expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, and really the only sort of housing costs we'll maintain over the summertime when we're off grid is, like Jill said, sometimes like occasional moorage. I think we paid like $14 a night to stay on a mooring ball once. We'll maintain our gym memberships. Well, will we? We'll probably cancel our gym memberships because we'll be traveling around, so we won't have that cost. And then occasionally we'll have to do laundry or probably pay facility fees, like if we're stopped at this marina or that marina. We don't plan on actually mooring within marinas, like at their docks very often. The nightly rates in BC for that in the summertime are very high, and generally speaking we'll just be on anchor or on a mooring ball, and we can just take our dinghy into the shore if we want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually a good side note. If we were to stay at the docks during the summer, we would be paying I can't remember the numbers, but it was just under $2,000 a month. So that, that is, we might as well be renting a 2-bedroom apartment at that rate. But yeah, prices in the summer, at least around here, do spike for moorage. So, you do kind of have that. We have to go off the docks, but I mean, that's where you want to be anyway, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, moorage prices spike in the summertime because of transient boaters coming from the U.S. or other places. They come for tourism, and so the harbor authorities and the marinas can increase the nightly rates because people are just sort of passing through. The last thing we wanted to talk about is sort of just a cost-benefit discussion about these price comparisons, and some of the things could be said to give up while living on a boat, and some of the things we gain, and whether it's worth it for us.
I'll start with the benefits because I think they outweigh the costs. The benefits are freedom. We can go wherever we want, whenever we want.
Weather dependent.
Weather dependent. And also we own this vessel. We're not paying rent. Yes, we're paying like a cost for moorage, but we own this vessel. No one can come and be like, oh, you're out of here, you know? So that's really important to me. And yeah, having freedom within that and just living a lifestyle where we can be a lot more intentional about what we do. And yeah, I really love, it's hard at times, and I think that just makes me appreciate life in a whole new way. And yeah, I don't know how to say it other than like, I really like experiencing the challenges of living on a boat, because it gives me a whole new appreciation for everything else I do in my life. And I love that we can track how much water we use, how much electricity we use, and we don't have a choice to go over. We have 30 amps of electricity. We cannot use more than that because we blow all of our breakers. So, you know, I hope I'm explaining this well enough. Like, it's really hard to put into words, but just the lifestyle and the lessons that you learn and being more connected to the seasons and the elements and the weather, I think that's just absolutely irreplaceable.
There's all sort of the obvious benefits, which is that we get to spend our time in really beautiful places near the water. We get lots of sunshine, and yeah, it's just a really beautiful place to live when the weather's nice, and it's such a treat. I think if you like being on boats and being near the water, you'll know what we mean. There's really nothing like it, and yeah, it's just a huge privilege to like live this way all the time when it's nice out.
We're filming this on a rainy day, and we're both feeling a little trapped inside. Now, costs. The main costs that come to mind is sleep. Is that even a cost? The winters for at least, 3, sometimes 4 months can be extremely challenging. We're getting used to it, but when huge windstorms come through this marina, and it's so hard to sleep. I think that's a common thing, when the boat is vibrating and shaking and jolting, and the waves are slapping against the hull, and it's very loud and very jolting, just in a way. And so bad weather makes it really hard to sleep in the boat and sometimes even work in the boat. And we can feel like we're trapped in the boat sometimes because of the weather. And also it can get really, really cold. And sometimes it's hard to heat this boat. We're working on it. We're definitely like coming up with solutions, but it's a learning process. And yeah, we've had a lot of cold, sleepless nights, and that's just something that's part of our lifestyle.
The main challenges from my point of view, the first one is we don't have much for our own bathroom. We do have a small head here that we pee in, and that's about it. We shower at the gym and we use public facilities. So that's I would say that's a big cost for me, is just not having like a nice full-size bathroom that's always functional and that you can use.
It's always between a 5 and 10 minute walk to go use facilities of some kind.
Yeah. And I think anybody who lives on a boat, or at least small boats, will know exactly what we're talking about. You will miss bathrooms.
Yes. Such a luxury when we come
Having a plumb toilet is a massive luxury. And then the last biggest challenge for me is having a lack of an additional space for sort of work or privacy. In a boat like this, there's only one main living area. That we do have sort of a divide between where we sleep and where we do everything else, where we work and eat and stuff. But it can be challenging at times if we need to do work, if we need to focus, or like we need quiet, or we need space. There's only one room. We live entirely in one small room. So another challenge is just day-to-day inconveniences that come up when you live this way. Like, a lot of chores take a little bit longer. We have to do our laundry at a facility that's shared, so like sometimes we'll take our laundry over there and it's busy, so then you have to leave your laundry. Sometimes the machines are aren't working or they're full. We obviously have to fill up our water. Like, we cycle through water every 4 or 5 days. So just things like that. You're not just like flicking on your tap. A little bit more effort goes into all of your daily tasks.
Even like putting up the tarp when it's raining, but having to take it down when it's windy, and rain or shine, they need to be done, and they need to be done outside in sometimes difficult weather conditions. Sometimes when you're running because you're late for the bus as well. I have a terrible habit of that.
Is it worth it then for you to live on the boat?
Absolutely. 100%. Is it worth it for you?
Yes. Yeah. It's definitely worth it. We have our moments. I definitely have my moments where I would daydream about living in a regular house. But with housing prices where they are, I don't think about that for too long. We definitely appreciate our relatively affordable way of living. And yeah, it's not too hard, even on those really rainy, cold days, to find the bits of pleasure and enjoyment you can get from being on a boat. And you can sort of just slog through those periods. Coming into a season like this, like into the summertime, it just feels like, most of the time, it just feels like paradise. So
yeah,
you wouldn't even question doing it.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Like, we've had so many days this week where we're sitting in the cockpit and it's like, this is it. Like, you know, we love it.
We've made it.
We've made it. So overall, we definitely do not live on a boat to save money. I think you need more reasons than that. Personally, I think it's an incredible opportunity, and it can be accessible to people. That's what we try and show with our channel and with our vlogs. You don't need to buy a boat for thousands and thousands of dollars, and hopefully it's accessible to people like us who are working and going to school and just living in this space. We do keep in mind we're super lucky and super fortunate to have been able to find this boat for an affordable price.
Very affordable at the time.
Yes. And to have been able to be accepted into this marina. We did not realize there was wait lists until we got in and started talking to people. So that was super lucky. We would have been, who knows if we would have even still been on the boat if we couldn't get into a marina. The winters can be quite challenging here, and I think being at the docks makes it a lot more manageable. So we hope we answered some of your questions. Thank you so much for watching. We're really excited to share some sailing content with you this summer. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps us out. Consider subscribing to our channel and click that notification bell so you get notified when we do post new videos. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed, and hopefully we'll see you next time.